Hi folks, today we're going to be talking about the first of the 5 elements that we mentioned in our previous video. This one's about wood. Now, of course, you're thinking, what are they talking about? And Maria often said that about me, of course, but you need to, of course, look at the video that it says about the 5 elements and how they help you change your life, because that's where we started to talk about the 5, what they meant, where they came from. And as we said then, we're going to go through each of these in turn. So today, of course, is the first one, which is on wood. And welcome, of course, to my partner in crime, Marie.
Hello, welcome, Jeffrey.
Yeah. And I just point out in advance, by the way, folks, I got in trouble in the last video because apparently I talk too much. So feel free to tell me to be quiet because Marie probably will. But anyway, we always have fun. It's always good fun. Let me just share the screen so we get into this and get moving. Okay, so as you said, Marie, wood. Very important, the first element, and a very important element because of a whole range of circumstances. When you'll see it in a moment, you'll realise how much that affects our lives, or can affect our lives in such a positive way. Now, there we go. Again, as we alluded to in our introduction video, there are a whole bunch of things around this, because when people think of, a lot of people think of elements, and in feng shui particularly, they think only of, oh, well, no, yeah, that means this, that means that. They don't realise it can mean a person. It can mean a home, obviously. It can mean a person's health and more. So the elements really have a very big impact on how we live our lives. Like I just, tried to say before, clumsily, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go and touch on each of these now.
So they'll be divided up into 3 sections, really.
In a sense, it's
in 3 sections that we delve in all the time. With our 3 treasures.
Indeed, so 3 treasures. The first one over here is your personality, the green dragon.
Point.
No, but I've got my mouse going. Look, he's living environment, and of course, health is the other one. See, I told you I was going to have a hard time today, didn't I? Oh dear. Anyway, so we go through them each, right, 3 sections. And as a sort of a precursor, you'll appreciate, and what we're doing in a very short space is just touching on a point or 2. And we could talk about these independently for weeks and weeks and weeks, because there's so much.
Just on one element.
Just on one element. It's amazing the depth and the breadth of material is incredible. So let's move on, because what we're saying is, in general, then, that all these elements, whether it's wood or in the future we're going to talk about fire or earth, they're all what we could call states of change in nature. Because you see, the I Ching and the Chinese in those days love to talk in metaphors and stories. So, you can't take it as a scientific term. It's not meant to be. It's an allusion to something else. So a state of change. Now, for example, Marie, we say that wood fuels fire. This is a natural way. Wood fuels fire, which settles to earth, mine for metal. So doing this is water that grows wood. And that's the nature way, obviously. But if we're doing a state of change, we could say that it grows, which is wood.
A wood person, say if we're talking about a particular person, so a wood will actually grow and
correct. So it's a growing, it could be strong, it could be plied, it could be whatever, different types of vegetation that occur. So it grows. So it's a state of growing. What do you think in terms of it's about how it could be for a person as well? Which leads to glow, which is fire. Glow means it's out there, it's happening. And we know that fire's like fire just spreads like wildfire. So do people and the element who've got the glow or fire inside them. They tend to be the party goers and so on. Which leads to slow, because slow is earth. Earth is...
yes, and I know all about that.
Yeah, she does, all the time.
And when we go into the earth one, we'll actually talk about how people think and why they move slowly, why they think slowly.
Well, it's slow by comparison to someone who's, for example, a wood person.
A wood person.
Or a mental person. Who don't want to get going at these things, but... And that's interesting too, the different way these things come out in a person. So it's really fascinating to watch. And that leads to know. Metal is also a state of change of knowing, because metal, as you know, is a transmuted state. So it could be an iron ore that becomes steel, or gold creating into gold bullion or necklaces and things. So the knowingness is using its ability to transform and use its own talents to become something. And
it's also these sort of people do a lot of research, and they're really into the nitty gritty of things, But
they can be very spiritual too.
Oh yeah.
As well as interesting. Metal people are very interesting. Did you know I've got a lot of metal in me? You say that,
You go through the airport and the detectors go
It's
off.
happened a few times, but never mind. We'll talk about that. Water, we like the word show. So change, because water is like, there's an image of yourself in the water. It's like a reflection. And water is that very much reflective nature, as we'll talk about later. It's got that nice reflective regathering energy, which is really, really soothing and very reassuring for people. So I guess what the bottom line is, it's states of change. So as we talk about these elements, we're not talking about real wood or real fire later and so forth. We're talking about what that could mean. It's important to understand that as we go forward, because next thing we want to talk about is actual elements and their season, wood and spring. Now, I should say here, because Maria reminded me I have to say this, so I better say it. Yes, there's a lot of writing. I'm guilty of doing a lot of writing, and Rick keeps telling me don't. But we also know that if you like what you're hearing and want to know more, of course, you can replay the video time and again. By all means, just stop it on the page and have a look. There's no secrets here. This is information that we'd like to share with you guys. So feel free to go back over it and over it, because it takes a while sometimes to sink in, doesn't it? But basically, wood genius, Marie. If you look at the screen here, I just mentioned a couple. I'm not going to read them all because we haven't got all day. But it's interesting. It's an active driving force, looking for new things to conquer. Now, that's true. Adventure, courage. Now, as we're talking about this is actually the wood element, but you can see we're talking about behaviors that we see in people. And that's important, because the whole concept is about putting these elements into our world. So you can probably think of people you know right now that have these sorts of things in terms of their behaviors, attitudes. Have the motivation to spring forward into action. They're entrepreneurial. They like to bring depth, inspiration together for balance, etc.
And just remember, when you're looking at any of these 5 elements we're talking about, when we do the charts on people and they say, okay, we've got so much wood element in them, everyone has got, well, most people when I do the charts, they've got at least, for all the 5 elements. I've done charts where they've actually only had 3 or 4 elements. So I've had a client where they had no wood element in them at all. So when you read or listen to any of this, it's not that this is you 100%. It's only little points. So if a person is really a strong wood, then a lot of this would it would, wouldn't it? It would, wouldn't it?
And I think too, the important point here is, of course, that if you ever choose to work with us, and we'd love if you did, that we talk out a person as a genius, and we actually hear genius, wood genius, spring genius, etc. I'm pointing to a screen you can't see, but anyway. Because we have a natal genius and a manifested genius. And natal genius is what Marie says about doing a chart with somebody. These are things that you're born with. These are characteristics you're born with, where if you think about it, we spend most of our lives trying to be whatever it is we have to be, which is our manifested way of doing things. And this is why this work is so interesting, because it allows us to see 2 sides of who we are and choose what we want to do, which is really important. So, for example, there's spring genius. It allows us to move forward to achieve goals, wants to expand and grow. It can handle a lot of pressure, happy to associate and share, etc., etc. In our reports, we go into great depth about all these sorts of things, but you get the picture of what wood is. It's really a sort of a lovely, growing, vibrant place to be a part of.
In my charts, I have very little wood.
So you're not a very vibrant person?
No, there are 1 or 2 things that relate to me, but because I have very little wood, my other dominating elements actually can take over. So, and it will depend on the time of the time of the year, and the month and the day and all that sort of thing. So this is just an example, a general.
Cool. Really cool, yeah. So if we go to a person, if we can do so, okay, we give them a name, because everyone loves names and labels, don't they? So we call a person who has got a lot of wood in them a pioneer. And again, you can read this yourself later when we play the video, but things like they're ambitious people, they're assertive, they like to coordinate people, they're adventurous and confident, they can get frustrated and angry, that's the fact.
Yes, Jeff.
I know, sorry. They prefer business or sporty casual clothes, hello. They like pushing forward activities, and they don't want to lose their freedom. There's more there, but you can get the idea. And again, I keep saying, keep thinking of who you know, and you'll be surprised, even yourself, and you'll be surprised how much will start to Spring into life. Spring into life. That's a good one.
No jokes today.
No jokes today, sorry. So, yes, when we look at the elements and the season, when we talk about them, we can get very categorically nature-based, but it's so much more interesting when we put them into a person.
And I'm just looking at confident, right? You know how some people say, oh, you need to get more confident. You need to get more confident. You know, you need to do something to get more confident. A person just doesn't get confident just by reading a book or anything like that. So it's finding out how you can actually create that confidence in that person and change the state of mind.
Which is going from a natal to manifested.
But also the foods can state, which we'll go into a little bit later.
We don't mention foods today so much or this week because we're trying to keep mainly with the elements, but food in itself and how it works with the body is just a completely amazing topic all of its own, isn't it? How much influence it has over your mental health and vice versa, etc., etc. So that's the person.
It's a person.
You said there were three we're doing today. So
that's treasure one.
Treasure one. Second is, we put in this order today, living environment. So, you know, I guess it's fair to say, dare I say it, everyone's heard of feng shui. That's a given. Everyone knows that term. But you know what? Most people have no idea really what a feng shui is about. Today's not the day to tell you about that either, by the way, because there's a lot of things that are way different to what people commonly think. Today, in this particular video, we'll talk about wood in terms of what do you might expect to see in a home, right? And that's all, not about how to make it anything, just what it could be. And we give it the name green dragon. Why? Because it represents the concept of what a green dragon is in Chinese medicine and Chinese, the feng shui, the I Ching, etc., etc. So don't worry about the name, it's just a name. Everyone likes names. I think I've said that before. But if you read the screen, because I'm going to, can I read the screen? Good. It's a home, it's a wood home. It represents strength, flexibility, warmth, generosity, cooperation, idealism. It encourages adventure, courage, and competitiveness, that's a good word, and is well suited to an entrepreneurial way of thinking. Can you see the connection to a person? So you can imagine if I'm a wood person, do I want a home that helps me be who I am? Or do I want a home that's going to fight with me? And that's the point about feng shui as well. Greg, what's about these other parts here?
Well, also what you didn't mention, Jeff, is the green dragon is the east.
It is indeed.
It is actually the east, and wood is actually the east. So when we go into a lot of feng shui within our health and all sort of stuff, the magnetic directions are so important even between the northern and the southern hemisphere, but we are talking about the east, we're talking about the spring, we're talking about colors and things like that. So in the east, in the morning, it's actually the energy starts to rise. So we do have a yin and yang wood as well, and that can be in different types of live trees and bamboo and live plants. Wood is actually associated with green living things, trees. If somebody's got artificial plants in their home, that's not wood. If they have got timber, tables, anything where a tree has actually died and gone, you know, that's actually classed as earth. So if you say, okay, well, I've got a wood home, all my furniture is wood. No, it's actually more an earth home. Wood is associated to live trees and live plants. Now, each plant will actually have different, you know, you can have soft plants, you can have prickly plants. You don't have, you know, cactus and that sort of thing in the bedroom. So when we go into the feng shui side of things, there are certain plants that will give certain cures and enhancements to the person, especially if they don't have any wood element in them, you know, so we need to enhance that. I actually profile homes and that as well, and that all depends on the age of the home, the shapes, how tall buildings, apartment blocks and that are actually classed as a wood home, rectangular shapes, columns and things like that. Colors, we know, you know, anyone in feng shui knows about the green and the blues. Animal signs, now we all know that we have the wood dragon and the wood tiger, and they're all associated with the east as well, eastern side. And but if anyone wants to enhance a plant in a room, always have it in a blue pot, a blue vase or a pot, because that water will actually feed that that wood element as well. So just to keep that energy, positive energy coming.
Okay. Now that's a really brief little glimpse, but I
That's
think,
very brief.
but just to give you a clue about how, and of course, when someone feng shuis your home, they're implementing cures and remedies and enhancements, which is when a home doesn't work the way you want it to, but that's for another day as well. But it also can be looked at from the point of view of your health and your well-being. Now, I put a lot there, but basically all I wanted to do was say, first of all, you know, what does it do? So the liver, there's the organ, that's a yin organ associated with the wood element. In Chinese medicine, it's called the general. And it's responsible for, you know, if you like, the smooth flowing of qi, which is energy throughout the body, and the bile secretion, digestion of foods, your emotions, a whole range of things. It's very important. The liver is probably, you know, well, it's probably the most important organ first up, in a sense, how much it does for everything else in the body. And it rules what we call the tendons and nails, which means it's connected through different meridians to different parts of the organs, to those elements or those parts of the body. For example, someone's got red eyes, quite often it's possibly because there's a liver imbalance going on. Also, there is like the emotions. If you look at someone who shows patience, that's a good virtue, and it's a liver virtue. And a wood virtue, anger, frustration, is negative. Okay, I mentioned about the eyes and etc. Now, there is a body clock, which we're going to mention in a summation video later in the piece, Marie. It's a time of day.
24-hour
A 24-hour clock, and it's a time of day, for hours of the day where each of these organs work and do their business, so to speak. For the liver, it's from 1 a.m. in the morning till 3, where it stores blood, detoxifies. That's just a really important function, detoxifying the blood to keep you healthy. So oftentimes when people can't sleep during that time of night, it's because the liver is struggling hard to do its job. Perhaps you had too late of tea, you had too much alcohol, too much sugar, etc., etc. And the associated organ, because organs are always in pairs with Chinese medicine, and the gallbladder is the yang part that goes with the liver yin organ. And there's a reason for that, which is, you know, not for today's conversation.
And also, just to interrupt while I think about it, the gallbladder starts working at 11
Before the liver, yeah.
11 p.m. to 1 a.m. So I actually talk to a lot of people and they say, oh, they just had their gallbladder out, they've got gallbladder issues and all this sort of thing. And the first thing I asked, do you work night shift? And one guy said, yes, I do work night shift. He had his gallbladder out. Another guy said, yes, I've always worked night shift. Anyone working night shift, your body needs to start working and rejuvenating at hours. And our gallbladder starts at 11 o'clock. So those people who are working night shift, just keep an eye on your gallbladder.
Well, it's hard to, it's inside you.
I know. But what will actually happen is that people will have health issues because of they working that night shift, and then everything is thrown. The whole body clock is thrown.
That's correct. And so don't forget, if the liver is having trouble, that's going to transmit down to all the other key organs. So again, the liver, it's a general, it's in charge. That's hence the name general. So that's really quick, wasn't it? But that's the point. And I know it's quick, and I apologize if we left people, you know, hanging out to dry thinking, what the heck was that all about? But you know, you can always talk to us for more. But here's this reminder: according to the I Ching, we're born from energy to matter, right? And so doing, we see a mixture or a combination of all these 5 elements together in all their glory. And it's a unique combination of these 5 that makes us who we are. And that's the really exciting part. So, you know, as it says there, a big long statement, what we're saying simply is what we said before. You know, we are born and we assume certain energy as we're born, right? And that mix is dependent upon a bunch of stuff, which was, again, not for today's topic, but it's to do with the energy around you at the time of birth, it's to do with your genetics, etc. But then we have a lot of time going through working out who we are in life. Now, when we know more about where these elements are inside us, we're in a much better place to know exactly who we are and be much more comfortable with who we are in our own skin, in our world that we live in. So basically what we're saying is that when you actually go and look at this, and we call it the genius profile, by the way, here's a little plug. the genius profile, where we actually discover for you and with you your natal genius and your manifested genius, which is a combination of A, the elements inside you that you were given with at birth or gifted with, and B, the elements that you just choosing to use in your own way later on. It affects your personal endeavors, your lifestyle, your health, your home, relationships, your work. These things all have a part to play, and the elements themselves work in there. And wood, of course, is a strong one, and you either do or you don't have a lot of wood, which is interesting to know how much you've got inside you. Wouldn't you think? I mean, I know, not what you've got, I know what I got, and it makes it so easy to understand why I drive people crazy.
And if also what we do is we work with relationships with people. So if you have two wood people together and they're fighting against each other, you know, sometimes a wood person is not compatible to another wood person. So what we do is we work out the type of person that you're compatible with regarding all the 5 elements, regarding your genius. A lot of people who think they are an earth person or a fire person, and that maybe they've been, you know, they've been over their time, as you know, they've changed because they wanted to be something. But naturally, if you get drained in something that you're not comfortable with, that means that you're not in your element.
And you're out of flow.
You're out of flow. You're not doing what you do naturally. So we actually say, right, this is who you were born to be. You know, this is how we can help you, you know, with your environment, with your health, with your mental and emotional states.
True. Which means I can then quickly segue to this, and that is to say that this little bullet fire tour leads us to fire, which is in the next video. So feel free to look for that when it comes out. I'll just stop sharing while we
Stop share.
Share is the red button. There we go. We're back. Hello. You can see I'm an IT savvy person. What was I saying? Oh yes, we're going to look at fire next, which is number 2 of the elements. So then we'll have those 2, then we'll move to earth after that and so on. Feel free to go back and look at these videos. It's our aim is to try and help you get to know these things better. This is, you know, something we think is important. So hopefully you enjoyed that absolutely fast little tour through the wood world, and we shall see you on the fire side shortly.
Bye.
Okay, bye.